The next gland that we will see is an adrenal gland. Our body has got a pair of adrenal. So the meaning of adrenal is it is adjacent to renal gland. What is a renal? Kidney. So it is somewhere seen near to the kidney. You know that this is a kidney, and you could see this on the top of the kidney. The adrenal gland is situated on the top of the kidney. Since it is the top of the kidney, you also call this as a suprarenal gland. Supra, not top. It is also called as suprarenal gland. It is also called as suprarenal gland. Right? So again, as I said, each and every gland has got an anatomy. So one at the anterior part of each kidney. So this is rather, you had some anatomical position for thyroid, parathyroid. How many parathyroid are present? 4. 2 in each lobe of thyroid, right? Okay. So actually this is the picture of the adrenal gland. You could see it has got two regions. The outer region is called as an adrenal cortex, and the inner region is called as an adrenal medulla. Okay. So before we proceed with first let's proceed with adrenal cortex. Then we shall come to the adrenal medulla for some reasons, right? So before we proceed with these things, generally hormones can be chemically protein and steroid. So we biologists look hormone with respect to its function, what function the hormone is going to do in our system. But if you give the same hormone to a chemist, if you're going to give it to a chemistry sir, he will be interested in looking at the chemical aspect of the hormone. See, if you're going to give a wood, we will look at this, what is xylem, phloem. Our perspective will be in the biological aspect. He will be seeing what is the bond involved, what is the exact chemical. So likewise, what basically hormones are, chemically what hormones are. So it could be either a protein or it could be a steroid. Okay. What is a protein? Which means that it has to be, your biomolecule chapter will say, anything that is made up of amino acids A1 to AN. This is a peptide chain. From first amino acid to last amino acid, N can be of any value, 10, 20, 30, 40, 500,000. So when it is made up of a chain of amino acids, we call it as a protein. What is an aromatic compound in chemistry? What is an aromatic compound? Anything with a benzene ring is called as an aromatic compound, right? Likewise, there is a ring here called as CPP ring. Okay, you need not get to know the details, but CPP is called as cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthine ring. As any compound which has got a benzene structure is called as an aromatic, like phenol, cresol, toluene, catechol. You see a benzene ring, right? Likewise, any hormone with CPP will be referred as steroid. Your cholesterol is a steroid, though it is not a hormone, it's a steroid. So in short, chemically, hormone can be a protein and steroid. Right? What is protein? It should be made up of a chain of amino acids. Chain of amino acids. Chain of amino acids which are connected by peptide bond. Right? What is steroid? Something which is made up of a CPP ring, cyclopentanoperhydrophenanthine ring. Clear? Okay. Now, even in protein, you have one more exception, like thyroid, where rather than you see a chain of amino acids, the entire hormone will be built on a single amino acid. Now, you don't see like insulin, if you take, you have amino acids which are arranged in a chain, connected by peptide bond. If you take thyroid, it is made up of amino acid, but not a chain of amino acid, single amino acid, with which some iodine, some other components will get added. This amino acid is modified, so it is referred as amino acid derivative. What is derivative? Something which is derived from where it is derived from? A particular amino acid. Hence it is called as amino acid derivative. So in short, our NCERT book will say, at the last part of NCERT book will say, hormones are chemically 3 types. protein hormone, amino acid derivative. What is the difference? I repeat again, your protein hormone is made up of sequence of amino acids or a stretch of amino acids which are connected by peptide bond, whereas your amino acid derivative is just made up of a single amino acid which gets modified here and there. Okay, like you have a benzene, you see some modification, OH getting added, it becomes a phenol. Like you have an, say for example, thyroid hormone, it is tyrosine is the amino acid. There is one amino acid called as tyrosine. You see some modification here and there, the tyrosine becomes thyroid. So it is called as derived from one amino acid. So amino acid derivative. Other one is steroid. So you have to understand this before we get into the the discussion regarding adrenal gland. Clear arka? Ipo let's get into the adrenal cortex. Right? So this is the adrenal cortex. See, the adrenal cortex can be divided into 3 layers. Further, you are dividing adrenal gland itself into cortex and medulla. The cortex is divided into 3 layers. What are those layers? Zona reticularis, innermost layer, zona fasciculata, middle layer, and zona glomerulosa, outer layer. Now, this zona glomerulosa is going to produce an hormone called as aldosterone. Right? Zona, which is the outermost layer. Right? Outermost layer. Zona fasciculata is going to produce a hormone called as cortisol. And zona reticularis is going to produce a hormone called as dihydroepiandrosterone, which is a weak androgen. Okay, which is a weak androgen. Clear arka? Okay. Right. Listen. We have 3 hormone here from 3 layers of adrenal cortex: aldosterone, cortisol, DHEA. All these hormones are basically contain CPP ring, which means that chemically these hormones should be steroid. Hence, it is called as steroids of cortex. Which cortex? Adrenal cortex. Hence, these hormones are generally referred as corticoids. Oids na steroids from cortex. Hence, it is called as corticoids. Right? This is aldosterone, progesterone. Progesterone, though it is not involved here, but you can note that the very chemical nature of hormone right from the term. சொல்றது புரியுதா? கிளியரா இருக்கா? Right? So even adrenal cortex create many hormone commonly called as corticoids. புரியுதா? கிளியரா இருக்கா? Okay, listen. இப்போ அதுல aldosterone. What is the function of aldosterone? Right? What function did we see for this thing, calcitonin? It is going to increase the calcium absorption. Likewise, you have intestine. Okay, this is going to be the tubule and this is going to be the blood. So intestine, tubule and blood. Right? You getting the point? Now, there it was calcium. Here it is sodium, potassium and water. These 3 are with respect to aldosterone. What happens under the influence of aldosterone? Under the influence of aldosterone, sodium, water will get reabsorbed. Under the influence of aldosterone, sodium, water will get reabsorbed. Clear arka? Will reabsorb. Potassium will be sent out, extruded. So what happens to the sodium and under the presence of aldosterone? What happens to the level of sodium and water in blood? Increases. Potassium level will decreases. So your blood sodium level and water, that is blood volume, will increase, whereas the blood potassium level will decrease. So when blood volume increases, what happens to blood pressure? Inga increase. You should not correlate with the concept in breathing exchange of gases. Inga increase out. Purida. Say in case if you water plant, right? If you don't see much of pressure, you have 2 options. You have to increase the water flow right from the tap, or you have to decrease the diameter of the tube. If the tip of the tube, you are going to decrease the diameter, then the pressure will increase. clear இருக்கா நான் சொல்றது? இதான் point, right? So basically aldosterone is going to deal with the mineral. Which mineral? Sodium, potassium. Hence it is called as a mineralocorticoid. Corticoid which deals with mineral metabolism, hence it is called as a mineralocorticoid. Okay, I think see, aldosterone helps in maintenance of electrolytes. Electrolytes no kududha, adu sodium, potassium, blood fluid volume which is nothing but water, right? Thereby osmotic pressure, in turn fluid volume nala in turn osmotic pressure and blood pressures are maintained. சொல்றது புரியுதா? clear-ஆ இருக்கா? Okay, இது. Whereas this is mineralocorticoid. Whereas what is the other one, middle one? Cortisol. Purida? Cortisol. Now you could see that cortisol is going to stimulate gluconeogenesis, right? Corticoid is going to stimulate glucose neogenesis formation. Gluconeogenesis. Purichira moona. Gluconeogenesis. What is that? It is the formation of new glucose. Genesis na formation, neo na new, gluco na glucose, formation of new glucose. Okay, and thereby what happens? Blood glucose level will increase. Pudu glucose form ஆகும்போது blood glucose level என்ன ஆகும்? Increase ஆகும். Lipolysis na lipid, lysis na breakdown of lipid. Proteolysis, breakdown of protein. Right, and inhibit cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids, right? So these are all the functions of cortisol. As we have seen the functions of electrolyte, that is the sodium, functions of aldosterone with respect to the electrolyte, that is sodium and potassium balance. These are the functions of which one? Cortisol. Now the major point here is cortisol is going to increase the level of blood glucose, right? Adanala it is called it can also be referred as an hyperglycemic hormone. We have already talked about hypercalcemic hormone. This is called as what is that? Parathyroid, parathormone. It is going to increase the blood calcium level. Clear arka? So this will be referred as hypercalcemic hormone. Sorry, hyperglycemic hormone. Glycemic na glucose, right? Okay, and since it is going to this cortisol is going to majorly regulate the glucose level, it is called as a glucocorticoid. Whereas aldosterone is going to regulate the electrolyte level, it is called as a mineralocorticoid. Purida? And one thing is, you could have understood that during COVID we were given steroids. You remember? During COVID, whoever is severely affected, they were given steroids, because when the immune system gets aggravated, see, we expect that immune system should work in order to eliminate the COVID virus, but the same immune system gets aggravated, it starts infecting our own cells, something like through a process called inflammation. So the inflammation will be contained by cortisol. அதனால தான் நம்ம ஸ்டீராய்ட்ஸ் கொடுத்தாங்க. கருப்பு புஞ்சைன்னு ஒரு வியாதி கூட வந்ததெல்லாம் கேள்விப்பட்டியா? All these things were happening during the apo. This is an anti-inflammatory hormone. This is cortisol. In short, we have talked about we have three hormones from adrenal cortex. One is the mineralocorticoid, aldosterone, which is a mineralocorticoid. Cortisol, which is produced by the zona fasciculata middle layer, which is going to regulate the glucose level. See, it has got other functions also like lipolysis, proteolysis, but the major function is going to be glucose metabolism. Hence this is called as, see, many of the functions of cortisol with respect to glucose is not mentioned here. So as you see here, you can see that glucose, the lipid, the protein, but glucose has got little bit extra mechanism of action and compared to its role with lipid and protein. Hence it is called as a glucocorticoid. Purida? Clear arka? Right? And see, here they have mentioned particularly glucocorticoid, particularly cortisol, produces anti-inflammatory reaction and suppresses the immune response, and that's the reason why this cortisol, which is commonly called as a steroid, okay, steroid is a general term. Adula you have mineralo, sex hormone, lot of steroid. Adula glucocorticoid, adula cortisol. Cortisol is an example. There can be other glucocorticoids also. Adula particularly cortisol produces anti-inflammatory reaction This is to suppress the immune system where in those persons where the immune system is aggravated in response to COVID virus. See, doctors will have a very difficult job. One way is to eat nellika, that is amla, and make your immune system strong. When immune system becomes strong, especially in those persons who are severely infected with COVID, the immune system should also be regulated. The same immune system which we try to develop is going to act against us through inflammation. Okay, again there are a lot of things, we are talking something very basic. Clear arka purida. And here you can also see cortisol stimulates the RBC production. We have seen this in thyroid. So each and every hormone, its function should be anatomical position, where it is located, what is its function, everything should be completely noted, understood. Each and every line of this could be a possible MCQ. Clear arka? Right? Again, this is the aldosterone part. So you have few lines of cortisol, about glucocorticoid, then few aldosterone, right? And finally, you have this weak androgen, small amount of androgenic steroids, which is also weak androgen, is secreted by the adrenal cortex, which play a role in growth of axial hairs, pubic hairs, and facial hairs during puberty. Clear arka, right? Though they have not mentioned much about the deficiency disease and all those things, let us have a separate discussion. So this is all regarding adrenal cortex. Right, so we'll have a separate discussion on adrenal medulla, right.